everybody. One day I will get those titles to work properly, but that is not today. Anyway, it's Friday afternoon here in Europe. It's actually really rainy and gloomy outside in Berlin right now, so it's a perfect afternoon to just experiment with a little bit of something creative. I am a Christian chiller, and once or twice a week I have my learning live stream where I look at something I'm interested in learning more about with the potential of possibly turning it into edited videos at some point in the future. This one might be one of those. We'll see, actually. But before we get started, just a little bit more about me. There we go. There it is. You can find more about me at christianchiller.com. And if you enjoy what you're watching, live or later, leave a comment, say hello, or give me a thumbs up and subscribe, of course, if you so wish. So, what am I going to look at today? I am going to look at Quest, another interactive fiction, narrative adventure. There's varying names for these tools now. Tool. I think with the intention, I've looked at Twine, I've looked at Ink, and I have looked at Inform. Those are the kind of the three big modern ones, although Inform has a very long history. And I came across Quest, which is slightly less known, but I sort of wanted to add it to the selection to look at, to then probably in the very near future make a comparison video where I actually start looking at some of these compared with each other in the process of actually creating something. But today, that's what I'm going to take a look at. Now, this involves having a Windows virtual machine, which has just been booting up in the background. So let's switch over. Bum, bum, bum. Oh dear. Oh dear, it's got the wrong screen. All right, here we go. 1 second. There we go. You don't want to see me more than once, do you? I don't know why that always gets forgotten. Very annoying. Anyway. All right, so this is Quest. It's actually at textadventures.co.uk, which is an entire text adventure site itself, and then /Quest. And actually, I can see some other options here. Squiffy as well, which is a rather interesting word. Maybe I'll have a look at that too. And then the ability to upload a game. But let's start with Quest. Before we begin, I just want to double check a few things quickly. Yep, all looks good now. All right. So you have two options here. There is the Windows version and there is Go. Sign up to start building your game online. And Quest lets you make interactive story games, text adventures like Zork and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, game books. I mean, it's pretty flexible. It's free. So I assume these two are the same. It's open source. You can modify it, which would make me wonder, it's probably something like an Electron application. And I wonder if it could contribute a Mac version. I don't know. We'll see. I might try the Windows version first. I did download it. I have got my virtual machine here. Let's see. Downloads. It should be inside downloads. Yes, there it is. Let's install that. All right. Quest 5, apparently. Sure. On Mac, I know how to tell if something's Electron or not, but restart? Okay, maybe we'll do the web version in the meantime. I'm not quite sure why a text adventure tool needs to restart the computer, but there we go. What do I know about Windows? Let's go for the online one in the first place then. So I need to create a account. I will in the meantime then, because I don't want you to show you my password. Drop out of here. And the idea I have for this is something I was actually turning into a short story, but I've been thinking about maybe turning it into an interactive fiction piece instead. This form is a very odd form. Nothing, well, not one password, not generate an email address I get from Apple One. None of it's being recognized, so it's a slightly strange form for some reason. Hang on. So yeah, nothing I'm creating in 1Password is getting triggered, which is annoying. Let's try that again. Now Mac OS wants to install an update. This is usually Windows territory. What is going on? Okay. All right. Okay. Okay. So the idea, it's a weird one I've had for a little while. It's someone joins a new startup. I don't know if this is maybe outdated now. I don't know if that's even a thing people want to do anymore. Now they're all on the decline. But anyway, they join a startup and it turns out to be a cult. Yes, I know that sounds, a lot of startups are kind of cult-like, but there we go. It's a bit more obvious than that. Now, this is interesting. I have gone through the sign-up process and I've got an error. So that's not helpful. Let's have another try. Just wanted to show you what was happening there. In the meantime, the Windows version has potentially reboot, but that might also need me to create an account. I did check this because elements of it made it look like it was quite old, but at the same time, it had, however reliable this is, it had a 2023 copyright notice. So I took that, as an indication that it was reasonably up to date, but I could be wrong. But here's the sort of Windows version. Let's see what happens. This could be a short video. Also because it only said compatible with up to Windows 10. No, this is not Electron. Okay, cool. Anyway, good. We're here. So let me just get this Windows window a little more central. And I'll maximize that. There we go. So that's a little better. My face is in the way, as always. I need to shrink my that just looks weird. Yeah, whatever. Let's stick with that. Okay. So we have demo games here. There's actually quite a lot. So we can actually play them here as well. I guess they can be played online. That is doing something. Can open for editing, tools, options, language, English, and German. So, I mean, it may be useful to actually play one first because I'm not very sure of the language. I'm guessing there is some documentation here somewhere. You can add pictures and all sorts of things. Surprisingly powerful. Any language, but I only saw English and German. But documentation. Here we go. All right. So tutorials. The quest tutorial starts here. A web version or Windows version. What is a text adventure? Why create text adventures? Okay, let's start with a text adventure. Okay, so I will try. I don't know if this is going to work very well. This is my usual trick. There is an entire operating system I'm doing that to. So it seems to be working. You know what I might do is, we can make that like that. And then I can bring this over somehow a little more. Apparently not. Okay, I don't know why. There we go. All right, that's a little bit better. There we go. Cool. All right then. So, yep. Create a new game. Text adventure or a game book. Huh, it's kind of intriguing. And here you can set the language. So it must be the language of the application, but you can also have the language of the game itself. So, tutorial. All right. Okay. All right, things are happening. I'm never really sure how to tell how Windows applications are made. I can kind of tell with Mac applications. This looks sort of old school. I don't know. It's taking a little while here. Anyway, that will do its thing. Web version. It might be interesting to try the web version if I could get it to work, just to see what it's like. Like, there's obviously a lot of interface elements here, so this is definitely not Electron. A lot of interface elements here that I don't know how they would translate on the web, but we'll see. Hopefully, is that visible enough? It's a little, the text is quite small. It looks okay. It actually looks better on the streaming screen than it does on the real screen, I think. Okay, the editor screen. So there's a lot here. It does look relatively similar, actually, interestingly. There you go. On the left is a tree showing all the elements. I don't know if any of you saw my video on, what's it called? I've actually got it installed here as well, I think. But I can't remember what it's called. What's it called? Artisy, yeah. Which is more of the narrative design side than creating the actual game. It has some similar overlap, which is interesting because that is really designed for people wanting to design the narrative that you then take to something like Unity. So if this is like the full end-to-end experience for text adventures, then we'll see. I'm making a lot of assumptions right now. The game element is currently selected, yeah. And Quest has created a room for us, and inside this room is the player object. That's where the player will begin when you run the game. You can test the game by clicking the play button. Okay. I'm not sure if I'm expecting to see something. It says, as you see, it's a pretty empty game. Oh no, here we go. There is actually something. So we have an inventory, which is kind of interesting, places and objects, and compass. Also in very related here, I published a podcast recently. My last podcast episode was with Aaron A. Reed, who just published a book on 50 years of text games. Very good book, and actually a very good interview. And the interesting thing is, in his book, he often puts this sidebar with these elements as well, especially inventory and places and objects. So this is obviously something of a standard, I guess, in the genre. I don't know, but it's interesting to see some similar categories. So there's obviously some basic default responses. This is a bit like Inform as well, unlike something like Twine and Inky, where you basically start with nothing and you have to create the tree. You get the impression, we'll see, this is a little bit more towards Inform, maybe, where you have kind of a default sort of, I don't want to call it a language model, because now that makes people think of something like ChatGPT. It's not in that same way, but it has a default understanding, maybe. So I don't know what it has by default, but let's see. Where am I? Dynasty command. So it's... So not a lot. I think Informs is much more complicated and nuanced than this, but it has some default responses. Also, that works as well. Okay. All right. Stop the game. I kind of just did that myself. Okay. Close the browser. Simple mode. When starting up with Quest, you might find it easy to run in simple mode. This hides much of Quest's more advanced functionality, but still gives you access to the core features. Simple mode from the tools menu. Let's see. I think I'm kind of happy with the full mode. There we go for now. Okay, it created a room called Room, which isn't a very good name. I don't know, that's okay, but yeah. Want to start in a lounge. So select Room from the tree. Okay, type, room, object, and or room. I could go in and out and interact with the room, or I could go in and out of a box. Anyway, so we're going to call it lounge. It's in lowercase. I don't know if that's important. I'm going to put it in uppercase and see what happens. There's an alias as well. And then we have a series of tabs here. So a description. Now, what is the difference between the prefix into description there? So this is the full description. Description prefix, you are in. You can see. Quite sure what that means, but we'll come back to that later. Description, we can have text and we can have running a script. And we have some basic syntax here that is like a mixture between HTML and some kind of templating language, I guess. Okay. All right. I'm going to change the description. Oh no, you don't want to say you are in because it already says. So, I've filled that with typos, and there doesn't seem to be any kind of spell checker, so that is something to bear in mind. I don't know what a tint click common is, but anyway. And do we hit save or something? I guess no, we just keep going. So add another room, and we'll call it kitchen. Okay. Now, interesting here because the room was not a folder. It's now just a series of objects that are defined as a room when you get to it, I suppose. Give it a description. All right. Dirty, filthy, and I clearly cannot type today. Yes. If you play the game at this point, you'll see the player is still trapped in the lounge with no way out. To be able to get to the kitchen from the lounge, you need to add an exit. So an exit is... Okay. So go back. Exit is not an exit from the game, it's an exit from the room, which makes sort of a sense. So... this is nice. So this starts to really hark back to a lot of those earlier games where it's like go north, go south, go east, go west. So it's, so a lot of the other systems I've ever looked at have a very kind of vague concept of how things are connected. You define it, but this is very defined across a compass. Some people may find that restricting. I don't know if it lets you go looser, but we'll see. So, and then go, click on the south. And then you can choose the room from the list. I wonder if this also works in the web version. This is getting to some relatively complex interface, which does unfortunately mean this would not be an easy port to to macOS, I think, unless... Oh yeah, so this is interesting. This has a much older copyright date than on the website. I may have a quick look at the web version later if I can get it to work. We'll see. Okay. Then, create the exit. Choose kitchen from the drop-down list on the right. Ensure that also create exit in the other direction. And then click the create button. I guess this one. Oh no, here, sorry. Did that work? Yes, okay. Took a second. 2 exits are created, 1 exit south and then 1 north. That makes sense. Think of them as one way. Yep. Play the game and then we now should be able to go south and north, but I guessed not west and east. Let's see. Okay. Oh, it actually tells me I can go south. Huh. So if I say go west, you can't go there. Go okay, but if I go south, and I suppose I can click it to also go backwards and forwards, so it's sort of multi-purpose there. And I think, yeah, this is updating as well. All right. Let's add some objects to the lounge. We're in the lounge. barely a lounge without a TV. Well, it's a Victorian lounge, so it might have something else. But yes, let's add some things. Click on the Add Object button along with the plants. 4 different ways. I have multiple ways of doing it, basically. Enter a TV. I'm going to enter a drinks cabinet in the lounge. Okay. It's important to note the distinction between the names that players can see and use to refer to objects and the names that you're... Yeah, so it's like a variable name and a... Or like an ID and a user-facing variable name. That kind of differentiation, I guess. Okay. And so we have aliases. So alias is for us, I think. Oh no, the player sees. So the player sees the alias, we see the name. Okay. If you go to the Objects tab, so here, also note some interesting things here. We have varying types of object. You'll see an other names box. Yeah. Ah, okay. So this is a drinks cabinet, so we could call it a bar, for example. I can't think of any other alternative, so that'll do for now. Okay. Description doesn't have anything to say. So we go back to the setup, and it says no description, which is interesting. So I'll add some text. Okay. Now, give me one quick second. All right, so we added the description, and we could launch that, but I think you get the idea. Let's carry on to the next part. It's a good idea to think about what kinds of things players might try to do to any objects in the game. So with the bar, they probably want to try and make a drink, take a bottle, that kind of thing. So we go to the Verbs tab, and then we have... it's on the Verbs tab, the Add button and type watch. So, now this is interesting because it tends to be one word. How would you have one word with a drinks cabinet? Well, I think maybe my description is wrong. And it should have been a description of the cabinet. So what I will say is open. Okay. All right. I'm trying to be too clever. Let's just say make. I mean, this is not accurate, but let's just go with it for now. What else? Take. Oh, okay. Mix. Yeah. Okay, there's a huge typo there. Oh no, I can still... There we go. That's interesting. Okay. It hasn't, but okay, now we can play, I think. Yeah. Now you can see a drinks cabinet. And you can actually select the different things here. Interesting. It makes it slightly more helpful. But we could say steal, break. But it's interesting because it said open, but you can't because we haven't defined it. It's defined as a keyword, but we haven't actually defined that that's a possibility yet. Okay. Okay. All right. Cool. As an exercise, add the following objects. A sofa, give it a sensible description, add a verb sit on. Yeah, a table, a newspaper, etc., etc. All right. So now we have interacting with objects. I might have another try at the web version, just out of interest, whilst we are here. Before we go any further, just to see how different it is, I will have to jump, oops, not that one, jump back to give myself some privacy for a second. It could just be that it's very old. My username already exists, so it did create an account for me, even though I didn't see it. So forgot your password, enter my email address. I think I can, yeah. It's the same again. I get an error, but I get the impression it may still work. Let's see. No, I'm not actually seeing any notification emails. Not even in junk. So something's not quite right there. I wonder how recently this has actually been updated. So, yeah, there you go. Oh, well. The web one, not sure, but the Windows one does seem to work. So let's, as we were. Okay. So let's have a look at this interacting, and then I'd like to look at the book version as well. All right. Okay. So we can pick, let's stick to this drinks cabinet. We have in the setup tab, we have the type, which we kind of looked at in passing. The object will behave in pretty much the same way, except it varies on the gender and the article, and you can override those because these kind of fixed genders here does rather show that maybe it's a little older than I thought. And the scenery option, is that, no, where's that? Where was that? Oh, here, scenery. Do not display in room description. What does that mean? It's quite a plain. Okay, so you can look at something, but it doesn't. Okay, yeah. All right, that makes sense. Okay, yeah. Exercise. All right, so yeah, let's add. We'll add an object to the lounge. Let's call it painting. And we'll make the painting scenery. But we have to also add that description to the room. I keep thinking I need to hit save, but I don't. So, good see movement. Would help if I. Yeah, so it works, but it's not listed as something here that you can interact with. Yeah. Okay, now let's have a character. An object is a character. Jane. And I guess we make them, we don't make them a room. We make them a person. Interesting. What is the difference between character and named? Ah, okay. And, so they're, yeah, interesting. Let's stick to that for now. Give him a look. A look or a description? Is that what that means? Give him a look description. Oh, it means the action of looking, yes. Okay. Okay. I think we need to do. If you run the game now, you'll see the room description says you can see a TV, a sofa, and a Bob. There is only one Bob. Well, in this game, so we want to get rid of the A and this prefix. Okay. Prefix and suffix. We saw this earlier. Let you insert text before and after the object name. It's displayed in a room description. Use default prefix and suffix. Yes. So we change it to, and then we could leave them blank because you don't have any text, but you could do the named. So that's why. Okay, fair enough. I'm kind of intrigued just to see that first. You can see a drinks cabinet and Jane. I mean, it's kind of weird. It'd be more like woman. You don't know she's called Jane necessarily, but yeah. Look at a bored woman. Oh, sights on one of the chairs. Very good. Speak to. Oops. Speak to. She's. That wasn't my typo. That was there already. Okay. You can actually go back and select those as well. Nice. Okay. She sees nothing. Huh. Interesting. Anyway, talking to the newspaper, taking the newspaper. Okay. You should have added it. We didn't. Let's add. All right. Let's add an object. These papers to the lounge. Oh. Okay. Go to the inventory tab and you have a couple of different options for take, default behavior, or run a script. I wonder what kind of scripts you can run. Don't know. Guess we can find that out later. Object can be taken. Box. Yes. You pick it up. Take message. So. There we go. Yeah. All right. We didn't really have a TV. Let's add a radio. Seems more appropriate to our setting, which I don't really know what it is. It's not the setting I mentioned. I'm just making this up as I go along. So we've got a name. Features. Objects have a features tab. They don't. I'm guessing it's the attributes. Taking a feature here will make the appropriate tab display. You go to that tab and turn it on. Switchable is one such feature. Is it? Where is it? I don't see it. Unless I am looking in the wrong place, or do you have to add it? Ticking a feature? Read this again. Objects have features. Settings. Hang on. To keep them manageable, objects. No. Objects have a features tab. I do not see that. I feel like it might be this. But is it that? No. Oh, hang on. I did something weird with this. I've made it a room, that's why. There we go. How do I add it to a room later? Can I just drag? Yes. All right, good. But I don't know. Yeah. And there's the features. My mistake. All right, there we go. Switchable. Switchable. Can be switched on and off. Switched. No. Switching on. All right. Okay. Go back to the setup. We didn't actually add a description, did we? I always think whatever you add into these sorts of things, everything ends up sounding slightly surreal just because the way you end up describing them. All right. So I think we could play this. You see a drinks cabinet, a Jane, a newspapers, okay, and radio. Look at. Dusty. I guess we can't take it. No. But we can switch it on. And can we switch it on again? It's already switched on. Good. That was clever. I'm assuming you could change the description depending on the state there. And we can now switch it off. All right. Yep. Okay. Cool. All right. Before we go too deep here, I think I would like to quickly try the simple game book just to see how different it is. I'm not sure if it will be much different. Let's save that. I may mess around with that later. Create a new game. Let's go for a game book. I will call it Sure. I don't exactly know what the difference is. What is the difference? I have pages. Okay. Can we print them? I don't know. How do you make a book, like a literal book? I mean, I guess it doesn't. Publish. What does that do? It just makes it into a quest. Okay. So it doesn't make an actual book. That would have been kind of cool. All right. So it has some example pages. I think the rest of it is pretty similar, maybe? Actually, I don't think so. So what's the differences? So this makes it more like Twine, actually. We saw all of this. Standard page type, a picture, YouTube, an external link, playing sounds. And that's it. Okay. There's no further steps there. So it doesn't really look like you can do so much. You can only add pages. I don't really see where this is. It makes it more like Twine, basically. I think the other one is more interesting then. What I'm interested to see, I'll go back to the one we just had, which is, where did it, oh Lord, where on earth did I save it? Quest games, I hope. Yeah. I'm interested to see what the kind of release options are and things like that. Yeah. And also I'm interested to see, because one of the nice things with Twine and some of the other tools is that visualization of what you have. there's some interesting options here, but once this starts to get quite big, like with ink, you just have these strings of text, and it's very hard to really know where you are with anything anymore. So let's just see if there's any kind of other view. So we can add more sorts of things here: a verb, a command, a room, an object, an exit, scripts, walkthrough. What is walkthrough? Some kind of dynamic thing, I guess. Tools, we could publish only to Quest, which is interesting because there's an HTML. Well, there's a web version. So how does the web version work? I don't know. I don't really see another kind of view. We could go to code view. Oh, wow. So it's all XML. Lordy, look at that. Oh, my. Oh, my. Oh, my. Okay. Yes, no thanks. I guess takes you back to the code view. And there is even an inbuilt... Oh, no, the help just takes you back to... Yeah, I get the impression this is older than I thought. Okay. I don't really see anything about HTML versions, so I think that's it pretty much. There's no visual mode as far as I can see. No. So it's a little bit complicated. All right, well, it's kind of interesting to experiment with. Let's sort of just have a quick look around the website, because it does very much look... I just want to get back to the top level. That'll do. Okay. So that didn't work. That worked, but it's not been updated in 5 years. There's a screencast. Download and modify the source code. I don't know where the source code is. Does this lead anywhere? It does lead to GitHub. And yes, indeed, it has not been updated in quite some time. Interesting. Let's see. Here's the customary. Is this active? People are still using it. It doesn't look like anyone has really done anything for a while. Yeah, there's lots of pull requests. It honestly doesn't look like anyone's maintaining this, which is a shame. I've kind of had this idea of going and trying to take over a lot of these, and this is all just no, what is this actually? What's it written in? I'm fascinated now. It's in what is it? C#. So you could migrate it to Mac. I don't know. I don't know. I've sort of got this long list of projects I've been thinking about, maybe asking if they want someone to take over maintenance, but I have this issue if I take on too many. But it's something to think about. So it hasn't been updated in quite some time. I don't know if this Squiffy is any better. This actually does have... I get the impression this might be more up to date. Maybe I'll add that to the list to look at next time, because I'm kind of running late now. That's also not been updated even longer. So, but it's web-based at least, so it'd be easier to update. So I get the impression that the... I'll add that as a future idea. I get the impression that, oh, PhoneGap, wow, that really does date it. Okay, I get the impression that for the most part, this website is the uploads. But what people are uploading, it is all Quest, HTML, Inkle, so it's different games here. So yeah, 26 days ago. So people are still using it to create games, which is interesting. Huh, there you go. And a lot of, yeah, comments. All right, well, I think I can wrap up. As an interesting tool, it definitely hasn't been updated for a while. I may dig into that. I was actually looking at the Inform repositories and community as well, but I might keep messing around with it. I kind of need to think about which ones support my ideas best. That's still where I'm thinking. I think I'm actually going to go down the Inform path probably in the long run. But even that one I was looking at maybe has not been updated as recently as I thought. So I also need to investigate that. It's also something to bear in mind. Twine seems to have the most active community at the moment in terms of development. Yeah, I don't know. If it interests you, you can take a look at textadventures.co.uk/quest. And if you've used it, let me know in the comments. If you've had any experiences with trying to find out its status, let me know. If you've played any games using it, let me know in the comments, which is a perfect time for me to mention, of course. I mean, it's pretty obvious where you leave comments. You leave them in the box below. Look at that. That was almost perfectly timed. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up or subscribe. And you can find more about me, including some of my own works at christianschiller.com. I'll be back next week with 1 or 2 videos. And I enjoyed that. I'm a little bit uncertain about the project itself and its status and all that kind of thing. But it was fun to play with. It's Friday afternoon. It was fun to play with something. So I have been Christian Schiller. Thank you very much for joining me.